I remember when I was 9 years old ish, and I fell in love with my friend John. And I would live in this fantasy world where he was my boyfriend. But in order for him to be my boyfriend in my fantasy world, I had to imagine myself to be a girl. I had to change who I was. I had to not be who I was in order to have what I desired and what I longed for. I remember also sitting in the front seat of my dad's truck, and there were too many of us to have our own seat. And so I sat on John's lap, and that memory sticks in my mind because the whole time that we were in the car, and I have no idea how long that was, probably just a few minutes, I had this fantasy that I was his girlfriend. And it was like everything that I had imagined, that I could sit on his lap and that he wanted me to sit there and that he wanted me as much as I wanted him. This burned into my mind a deep desire to have something that I couldn't have. And so often, that's what the role of straight men can be in the life of gay men, especially when we're younger, when we're just trying to figure it out and we don't even know any other gay boys, possibly. So, what are we to do, right? We don't have anyone to talk to about these things. Our fantasy, our our desires become strong, and how do we navigate those things? So we come into adulthood having sexual interest and specific types of desire that are rooted in our childhood and our formative years, in our relationship to masculinity, in our relationship not just to the boys around us, but to possibly our siblings, our fathers, other male role models in our lives. That if you're anything like me, those role models were not emotionally available or sensitive. And so my desire towards the masculine as an archetype, the masculine, was this desire to have someone that couldn't see me or didn't see me, to have them want me. And so I didn't just chase straight men. I certainly didn't do that my whole life, but I did tend to chase men who were unavailable on some level. I was trying to heal those father wounds. I was trying to heal the wounds of childhood of not having attention from men. I got a lot of attention from my mom, my grandmother, my much older sister, and I'm so thankful for their influence in my life. And yet, there was this longing for a masculine presence that was both strong and protective and caring and loving and emotionally available. This tends to be a pretty common experience for a lot of us homos. And my take is that the male role models in our lives, whether that was our fathers or another figure, that a lot of them could feel that we were gay. They saw our differences. They saw that maybe we were a little softer, and that made them uncomfortable. And so unknowingly, they kind of push us even further away. Or because we aren't interested in the things that they are interested in, they don't know how to engage with us. So we leave having this masculine wound. And of course, we are very influenced, especially in the years, if you are around my age, just a couple of decades ago or a decade ago, the idealism of masculinity was a very specific archetype. And that was stoic. It was a person who was only connected to his sexual desire for a woman and his anger. And those things were what made a man. And he needed to be quiet and reserved and detached. So, because of that, because that we are inherently attracted to men, if that's the archetype that we grew up with, that this is what a man is, it sets the tone for what we are attracted to. And now I know that this is not the case for everybody, but I am speaking specifically to the men who do or have had the experience of being very attracted to straight men. It causes a rupture. And in my experience personally, and with the men that I've worked with, that there's this rupture in wanting to be close, wanting to develop a relationship with a man, and wanting to have the love that you know is possible, but also having maybe some internalized homophobia, which I'm going to talk about in a future video, carrying some internalized homophobia, shame, and that unmet need to be loved by a strong masculine presence. So, in my own journey, what I did for myself was to start to understand what set the tone for me to be really interested in people who weren't interested in me. One of the things that I found was that it was also a safety and protective mechanism, that actually that person's never going to come to me, so I don't have to be vulnerable. I can just long for this. That would take the place of actually having the type of relationship that I desired. Of course, that leaves loneliness, it leaves shame, it leaves us to feel that there's something wrong with us because we can't open up to the type of partner that we actually desire. We can't open up to love. It's interesting because this is very common, but also very unconscious for many of us. Once we can dissect and start to see more clearly what is at the roots of our longing for something that we can't have, once we start to do that, it opens up the ability for us to unwind things like internalized homophobia and shame. If you're resonating with this on some level, maybe it's not that you are sexually attracted to or interested in straight men, but that you find when you are in spaces with straight men that unconsciously you are looking for their approval or you're hiding parts of yourself, then I want to suggest a couple of things to you to start to bring more clarity and understanding to what your relationship is with straight men. Think about going back to key moments in your life, like I just described in my life, and write them out like you're writing out your memoir. When you do this, you start to have a lot more clarity. Things start to make more sense. And how it's affected you in the present moment becomes much more clear. When you start to have clarity about how your past has affected your present, it makes you more conscious in the present. So then, choices that were previously unconscious, like a desire for a straight man or seeing yourself as less than, then those things and any actions around them become conscious and you start to make new choices. You start to poke holes in the story about your identity and how you fit into the world. Another practice that you can do is write to straight men. So here are the three writing prompts for you. Straight men, I hate that. Straight men, I wish that. Straight men, I need. Try to write without thinking too much. Let your heart speak. Take a few breaths, drop into your heart space, and write whatever comes up. You'll most likely uncover some deeper needs, thoughts, and wounding that's there that then you can start tending to. In my own life, it wasn't until about 5 years ago that I had strong relationships with straight men because I was doing my healing work and because I wasn't afraid of straight men and or longing and hyper projecting some image onto them that they couldn't live up to and that actually held me apart from having a sincere relationship with them. And now in my life, the relationships that I do have with straight men are some of my favorite relationships, some of my favorite friendships. And it feels really good to have that bro connection that doesn't have a sexual overtone, that doesn't have this hierarchy that one of us is better than the other, but it's real, true relationship. And it's something that has healed my heart so much because it was something that I longed for as a kid. I think it's so healing for us to have this connection with each other and what we can offer each other. Because what I've found is that the straight male friends in my life, by being in relationship with me, that they've found a space where they can just be themselves and they don't have to present some sort of hyper masculinity. They can be their tender selves, they can be their feminine selves, they can lean into their softness and feel really comfortable in that friendship. Please share with me in the comments how this is landing for you, what your relationship is with straight men, what your relationship is with desire around masculinity, and how that's maybe changed over your lifetime. Until tomorrow, much love.